This book was written in 9 days. Viktor Frankl survived Auschwitz and discovered what truly kept prisoners alive. It wasn't strength or luck. It was one psychological trait that contradicts everything you believe about happiness. September 1942. Viktor Frankl stood at the entrance of Auschwitz clutching a manuscript sewn into his coat lining. It contained his life's work on a new form of psychotherapy. Within hours, the guards stripped him of everything: his clothes, his wedding ring, his manuscript, even his name, replaced by a number. But here's the real insight. In that moment of total loss, Frankl began the most important research of his career. He started observing who gave up immediately, who kept fighting, what separated those who would survive from those who wouldn't. The answer had nothing to do with physical strength or youth. Some of the most robust prisoners died within weeks. Meanwhile, frail elderly men somehow endured year after year. Frankl realized he was witnessing something psychology had never documented: a laboratory of human suffering that would reveal the deepest truth about what makes us human. And the answer was simpler and more profound than anyone had ever imagined. Before the camps, Frankl had already challenged the giants of psychology. Freud said humans are driven by pleasure. Adler said we're driven by power. But Frankl observed something different in his psychiatric practice in Vienna. His patients weren't suffering from repressed desires or inferiority complexes. They were suffering from emptiness, a feeling that life had no point. He called it the existential vacuum. And this is where it gets powerful. Frankl believed the primary human drive isn't pleasure or power. It's meaning. We can endure almost any suffering if we understand why we're suffering. But meaningless comfort destroys us from the inside. He had the theory. Now Auschwitz would become his proof. Every day in the camp, Frankl watched prisoners make choices that defied logic. Men who shared their last bread with strangers. Women who sang songs to comfort dying children. These weren't survival strategies. These were declarations of meaning. Even here, even now, my life stands for something. The question was whether this meaning could actually keep someone alive. What the author reveals next is brilliant. Frankl identified 3 psychological phases every prisoner experienced. The first phase was shock. Upon arrival, prisoners entered a state of delusion. This can't be real. They'll release us soon. Some even found dark humor in their situation, a defense mechanism against overwhelming horror. But here's the thing. Shock protects you temporarily. It doesn't prepare you for phase 2. After the shock faded came apathy. Complete emotional death. Prisoners stopped feeling disgust at the conditions. They watched friends die without tears. They ate rotten food without nausea. Frankl describes this as a necessary armor. The soul protecting itself from wounds it couldn't survive feeling. But apathy was a double-edged sword. It numbed the pain. It also numbed the will to live. Prisoners in deep apathy stopped caring if they woke up tomorrow. And that's when Frankl noticed something crucial. Those who would survive never fully surrendered to apathy. They found small rituals, private thoughts, secret meanings that kept a flame alive inside them. But the most important lesson is this. Frankl discovered that meaning could come from three specific sources. The first source was creative work. Even in the camps, some prisoners carved small figurines, wrote poetry on scraps, or mentally composed symphonies. They were creating something only they could create. The second source was experience. Love, beauty, truth. One prisoner survived by holding imaginary conversations with his wife every night. He didn't know if she was alive or dead. It didn't matter. The love itself gave him meaning. Frankl recalls a moment when prisoners were marched past a sunset of extraordinary beauty. Despite their exhaustion and hunger, they stopped to stare. Beauty can pierce even the deepest numbness. The third source was the most powerful and the hardest to accept. Unavoidable suffering itself. When we cannot change our circumstances, we're challenged to change ourselves. The how of suffering becomes our final freedom. Think about that for a second. Frankl isn't saying suffering is good. He's saying that even meaningless suffering can be transformed into meaningful sacrifice. The wisdom deepens when we consider what Frankl observed about those who didn't survive. And this is where everything you've learned so far comes together. Frankl noticed a specific pattern. Prisoners who set arbitrary deadlines for rescue often died shortly after those deadlines passed. I'll be home by Christmas. The war will end by spring. When Christmas came and they remained in prison, something broke inside them. Their immune systems collapsed. They stopped eating. Within days, they were gone. But that's not even the most disturbing part. The prisoners who survived longest rarely thought about when liberation would come. Instead, they thought about why they needed to survive. A book to write. A child waiting at home. A scientific discovery only they could make. Frankl himself survived by mentally rewriting his lost manuscript. Every night, on scraps of stolen paper, he reconstructed his life's work from memory. The manuscript wasn't just ideas anymore. It was his reason for breathing. Those who have a why to live can bear almost any how. Nietzsche wrote those words. Frankl proved them true with his survival. And this is how you apply it. After liberation came the third psychological phase. And Frankl warns us about something few people discuss. Freedom can be as dangerous as captivity. Prisoners dreamed of liberation for years. But when the gates finally opened, many felt nothing. The emotional numbness didn't lift. Worse, some former prisoners became oppressors themselves. Having suffered so much, they felt entitled to make others suffer. The transition from victim to tyrant happens faster than we think. But here's where it gets fascinating. Frankl observed that those who maintained meaning in the camps had the smoothest transitions to freedom. Their sense